Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
So it's a session where I hope that you're buckled in and you're ready to go. Please make it a conversation in the chat box. I will be keeping my eyes on the chat box. I've got a couple of compilation type sessions that I run, and I actually stopped this week when I was putting the notes together and thought, okay, well, we're asking for it to be Companies Act compliant. We're asking for it to be a compilation engagement, and we're asking, to look at a set of financials. So we've really got a couple of elements to go over today and to attack and approach it from different sides. Okay. So I have decided to sort of take a bit of a shotgun approach and really go Companies Act compilation engagement and dig into a set of financials. With 4 hours, you always think that it's a lot of time, but we've got quite a bit we can cover and can discuss. At the same time, if you've got issues or challenges that are related to the topic, if I don't deal with them as you ask the question, I'll deal with them as it's the appropriate spot in the session. Okay, we'll go from there. So I hope that it's meeting everybody's needs, and it is useful to everybody who's attended. I'm also bearing in mind that most of you are starting to draft your February year-end financials, so there, we'll keep that in mind as we're talking, and also just thinking about things that are coming down the tracks and coming down the line as well. Okay, it is a very broad and wide topic in a way, so we won't be able to answer everybody, your particular questions if they're extremely specific, possibly, although I'll try. But I'm hoping that we get most of everybody's thoughts and questions answered. Okay, so it's really good to see everybody online. I'm really glad to keep you company and for you to keep me company this morning. If there's any questions, issues before we get started, please pop them into the chat box. I'm enjoying everybody saying good morning. It's nice to see where you're all from as well. I always enjoy that as well. So pop, hi, Caryn from the Midlands or wherever it is, just so we can also get a sense as to how far and wide we are all spread. Okay. The other thing that will also be interesting to me is what your position is with respect to this. So I'd also love to see in the chat box, are you a financial manager? Are you an accountant in practice? How are you engaging with these financials? And possibly give me like what you're wanting to get from today's session. So at least I can know that I'm addressing your needs. So ask questions. There will be, we generally try and get some Q&A. But we get done what we can get done. Okay. That is me, as always, with where I am from, where I've come from, and where I'm going. Okay. Good to see that most of you are accountants in practice and tax practitioners. Good to see that we've got a rather broad range, but most of you seem to be in a consulting kind of space from what I'm seeing here. Okay. And quite a few of you from Cape Town, or you're just bragging that you're in the Cape. So we're going to start out. This is, at the end of the day, Rob's asked me to do a session here on Companies Act compliant financials. Okay. So I thought that was really a core place to start, as in what is the influence and impact of the Companies Act on this. So we're going to start from there, and I think it's really important to think about it, because first off, that's Big Brother really, one of the key requirements and purposes as to why we do these financials. please forgive the dogs in the background. I have a 6-month-old puppy who has discovered her voice, and for a, she's a Belgian Malinois, and they have very, very big sound boxes. Okay, we will try and get her moved so she's not so noisy. So we're going to look at the Companies Act and look at the compliant issues and the reasons why getting your financials right from that perspective is really important. Okay, there are a couple of things coming down the tracks from the draft amendment bill which we need to keep our eye on, but it depends on how big your organization is or how much public accountability you have as to how impactful that was going to be. And then we'll get down to the actual process of drafting. So we do have a compilation standard called compilation engagement, which is 4410, international standard of reporting, RS's reporting standard. Okay, so we do have a formal official standard. Okay, so we will. I'm glad some of you don't mind Sky. She is a character of note. So we will talk about the fact that there is a formal standard, and is there a difference between drafting and compilation, and what that difference may or may not be. And then we will actually start looking at issues in the financials. So as I said, quite a bit that I want to talk about and get through. And this to me is like the most comprehensive session that I can do around, without doing an IFRS for SMEs, a financial reporting accounting framework, but more of a generalistic approach. Okay. Solly, I have some financials in the back, but they have to be listened. You have to listen to the session as we go through them, because they are not perfect. They are deliberately got problems in them so that we can talk around them and we can talk to them. But I want you, we don't actually want to do template tick box boilerplate financials. I think in this day and age, engaging with DraftWorks or Caseware or AuditMate or even Xero and your accounting packages have really good report writers. It's a useful thing to invest in and use as a starting point, but you have to turn them into your own set of financials. Okay, and it's just a tool. It's these templates that these packages have, and the reason I say to use a drafting package, and I know that DraftWorks, for example, works very closely with SAAA. The reason I say to use those drafting packages is, first off, they've got technicians behind the scenes that are keeping things relatively up to date. Not necessarily. You still have to be responsible for knowing what's new and what isn't. But having Word or Excel or something like that, having to amend and update your financials for everybody is very time consuming, whereas working with a toolkit like a drafting package, it's a bit more efficient. On the other side of it as well is, the biggest problem I have with templates and the drafting packages as well, I'm actually a little bit critical of the drafting packages as much as I recommend them, is that people tend to switch their computers on and switch their brains off. A drafting package or a template is only as good as a spanner or a hammer is to a artisan. Okay, it's a tool in the toolbox. It's how the artisan uses the tool that is more important. And so it's about knowing what should or shouldn't, or how you should be using this for your client. The human element that we really need to switch on and work with. Okay, so one of the things I sort of say is that the templates are great as a starting point, but they definitely need to be updated, okay, and worked with. And that is also why I haven't got a perfect set of financials in here. I've got a set of financials which we are basically going to review and crit through the session and talk about how they could be improved, or what the problems are, or whether or not this is good disclosure or not, so that we put that human element and that craft of drafting a set of financials into it. Okay. And that really is what my message is into the market is, and you speak to Urbo, you speak to various different people. This is and even to the International Accounting Standards Board.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.